Newsweek is reporting that the United States has warned Ukraine that there will be a full-scale Russian invasion within 48 hours.
Ukraine is surrounded in the north by Belarus, on the northeastern border, and onto the southeastern border and the Crimea, annexed again by Putin. Don't think he doesn't remember. He did that without any problem from the Obama administration, didn't he?
Does a full-scale invasion mean you're moving in tanks, you're moving in air cover? Is that what it means?
They would launch cyber attacks initially. That only takes a matter of a few hours.
That's already happening.
Right.
To move those troops into Kiev, how long are we talking about?
We're talking a matter of hours, 12 hours or less if you're coming from the north from Belarus. But again, what normally happens in Russia and the American forces, we did this in Iraq, you don't send armament in initially. You start moving them that direction. You begin with the pre-assault fires, rockets, artillery, airstrikes, and then you quickly move in armor and armored personnel carriers after that.
What are we hearing from Washington? This is obviously breaking just now.
Speaker Nancy Pelosi, just a few moments ago, she's concerned, Jay, that they don't have clarity from the administration. She wants to know. You asked, Jay, about the U.S. troops in
Poland.
Poland.
This is from Nancy Pelosi.
Here's what she said.
Okay.
Yeah, she says, well, she believes the sanctions are going to be effective. But when it comes to U.S. troops, she says, I want to know what the scope is, I want to know what the geography is, and I want to know what the timetable is. Jay, the Speaker of the House from the president's party doesn't know those answers. That's a problem.
A cyber attack is currently underway. Additionally, the U.S. is reporting, this is from the same U.S. official, that aircraft observers have indicated that Russia violated Ukraine's airspace earlier today, flying possible reconnaissance aircraft for short periods of time over Ukraine.
A reconnaissance mission like this is designed to pick out key targets when an actual battle begins. They are looking for targets. They're looking for headquarters placement. They are looking for where the Ukrainian troops are.
This is the beginning of a Russian invasion of Ukraine, as he indicated and asked permission to be able to do from his Duma. So let's begin to, I'm going to begin to impose sanctions in response far beyond the steps we and our allies and partners implemented in 2014. And if Russia goes further with this invasion, we stand prepared to go further as with sanctions. Who in the Lord's name does Putin think gives him the right to declare new so-called countries on territory that belong to his neighbors?
So President Biden put in what he calls full blocking sanctions on two significant financial institutions. I'm going to go to Professor Harry Hutchison from our team to discuss what are these sanctions, Harry, and what are the impact of these sanctions?
This will bar these two specific banks from engaging in financial transactions with other banks throughout the world system. These two large banks, which are very significant in Russia, they will simply utilize accounts that they have with other banks. So in other words, you can't prevent Bank A from having an account with Bank C. And that's particularly true because the United States has not imposed sanctions on the entire banking system in Russia. That would have been much more significant.
Were these sanctions at this time the right time?
Don't think he didn't recognize these two breakaway areas of the Ukraine and what the sanctions that Biden was going to put on were before he did it. Of course, he knew what he was doing, and he knew that he could actually connive around those sanctions and go toward his ultimate aim, and that is the annexation completely of the Ukraine. So the timing of the thing was critical here, and the timing is too little, too late, in my estimation.
The time to start would have been at least a couple of months ago when maybe you could have prevented him from moving in. So you talk about the sanctions on the banks or the oligarchs, for example, Jay. Once Vladimir Putin started gathering troops into the strike zone, and it was clear that this was what he was planning to do, I think these sanctions might have repelled him. They're not going to repel him now.
What sanction do you do next that would really impact Russia's ability to do this?
Block all financial transactions. In other words, prevent any Russian bank from accessing the SWIFT system.
President Biden is not utilizing all of the options that are afforded to him. We should be having sanctions, serious sanctions like banking sanctions or Nord Stream 2 permanent sanctions in a lead up to what he clearly is messaging is a bloody war around the corner. I don't see how you can look at the situation and say that Joe Biden is somehow helping the Ukrainians in any substantive way, and Putin sees it like that. There's no question that he is undeterred.
The permanent sanctions on Nord Stream 2 were on the floor of the United States Senate 3 weeks ago, and it was the White House that came to the United States Senate and said, we're opposed to these, block these.
If you're military generals in the United States now, what are you thinking?
We're thinking that a war is about to start and that Putin believes that our lack of will and unity means we will appease him.
Unfortunately, I hope that's not the case, but also don't want American troops put in harm's way on this. You can't do it. You can't do it.
It's not our fight.
So this is Europe is in a mess.